Esoteric astrology. The soul's journey through the stars. What if I told you that everything you thought you knew about astrology was just scratching the surface? That beyond your daily horoscope lies a profound system that maps the very evolution of your soul. Right now, as you're listening to this, cosmic forces are shaping not just your personality, but your deepest spiritual journey through lifetimes. You see, we're living through something extraordinary. We're witnessing the dawn of the age of Aquarius. And with it comes a revolutionary understanding of astrology that goes far beyond predicting when you meet your soulmate or land that dream job. This is about understanding why you're really here. Most people think astrology is about fortune telling. They flip to the back page of their favorite magazine, find their star sign, and hope for a bit of good news about their love life. But that's like judging a symphony by listening to just one note. Traditional astrology, what we call exoteric astrology, focuses on your personality, your everyday desires, and your material concerns. It's perfectly valid, mind you, but it's only the beginning of the story. The real magic happens when we venture into esoteric astrology. This ancient wisdom tradition looks beyond the surface to explore the journey of your soul. Think about it for a moment. If you've ever felt like there's more to you than meets the eye, like you're here for a deeper purpose than just paying bills and watching Netflix, then you're already sensing what esoteric astrology reveals. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds rather mystical, doesn't it? But here's the thing. Esoteric astrology isn't about crystal balls and fortune cookies. It's been called the science of all sciences because it maps the relationships between every living entity in the cosmos. From the tiniest mineral to the vastest galaxy, everything is connected through patterns of energy that we're only just beginning to understand. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine the cosmos as a vast web of consciousness, with threads of energy connecting every star, every planet, every living being. Your birth chart isn't just a snapshot of where the planets were when you took your first breath. It is a map of how your soul chose to participate in this cosmic dance for this particular lifetime. The ancient wisdom teaches us that we're not separate beings struggling alone in an indifferent universe. We're conscious sparks of divine light, each playing our part in a grand symphony of each. And right now, as humanity transitions from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, we're all being called to remember who we truly are. This shift isn't happening overnight. Mind, it began around the 1700s. Particularly when Uranus was discovered in 1781. Uranus, the planet of revolution and sudden awakening, heralded a new era of consciousness. The American and French revolutions weren't just political upheavals. They were outer manifestations of a deeper spiritual revolution that's still unfolding today. But here's where it gets fascinating. We're not just entering any old Aquarian age. According to the ancient teachings, we're experiencing what's called a double Aquarian cycle. This only happens once every 25,000 years. Think about that. You chose to be alive during one of the most significant transitions in human history. That's not a coincidence. This explains so much about what we're seeing in the world today, doesn't it? The growing polarization between different groups of people, the clash between those who sense a new paradigm emerging and those who cling desperately to the old ways. It's like humanity is experiencing a collective midlife crisis, torn between what it's always been and what it's becoming. The old Piscean energy was about devotion, sacrifice, and following external authority. It gave us organized religion, hierarchical structures, and the belief that salvation comes from outside ourselves. But Aquarius is different. Aquarius is about group consciousness, human unity, and finding the divine spark within. It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected parts of a greater whole. This is where the 7 rays come in. Now, don't let this overwhelm you, but there are 7 streams of cosmic energy that condition every life form in our solar system. These aren't just abstract concepts, they're the fundamental building blocks of consciousness itself, emanating from the 7 stars of the Great Bear constellation. Think of these rays as 7 different frequencies of divine light, each with its own unique quality and purpose. Ray 1 carries the energy of will and power. Ray 2 embodies love and wisdom. Ray 3 manifests as intelligent activity. Ray 4 seeks harmony and beauty. Ray 5 expresses as concrete knowledge and science. Ray 6 radiates abstract idealism and devotion. And Ray 7 brings ceremonial order and magical manifestation. Here's the brilliant bit. Each of us has a unique combination of these ray energies expressing through different aspects of our being. You have a soul ray, a personality ray, a mental ray, an emotional ray, and even a physical ray. Understanding your ray makeup is like discovering your cosmic DNA. It reveals not just who you are, but what you came here to accomplish. But how do you discover which rays are operating through you? It's not something you can determine from your birth chart alone. Though the chart provides valuable clues, the personality ray is usually the easiest to spot because it shows up in how you behave in the world, how you speak, how you interact with others. It's written all over your face, quite literally. There is an old saying in esoteric circles: astrology is as plain as the nose on your face. The soul ray is more subtle. It requires what we might call inner listening. It's the deeper current that flows beneath your personality, the part of you that emerges when you're quiet, centered, and aligned with your higher purpose. Some people go their entire lives without recognizing their soul ray because they so identified with their personality pattern. This brings us to one of the most profound aspects of esoteric astrology. Your birth chart isn't just describing your personality traits. It's a map of the evolutionary journey your soul has chosen for this lifetime. Every planet, every aspect, every placement has both a personality level meaning and a soul level purpose. Take your rising sign. For instance, in traditional astrology, we say it represents your persona, how others see you, or how you'd like to be seen. But esoterically, when you're on the spiritual path, your rising sign reveals your soul's deepest intention for this incarnation. It's the energy that can take you ever closer to the center of your own soul life. I'll give you an example. If you're a Virgo sun with Aquarius rising, you might think of yourself primarily as a Virgo type. But from the soul's perspective, the Aquarian energy of your rising sign is actually more important. It's the pathway that leads you home to yourself. That Aquarius rising is calling you to contribute to group consciousness, to work for the betterment of humanity, to help birth the new age we're entering. The moon in your chart tells a different story altogether. While the sun represents your core identity, and the rising sign shows your soul's intention, the moon reveals what needs to be transformed. In esoteric astrology, the moon is sometimes called the prison of the soul. It represents the instinctual patterns, the conditioning from past lives, the habitual responses that can keep you trapped in limitation. Don't misunderstand me. The moon isn't evil or something to be eliminated. It's the repository of your past, the accumulated wisdom and patterns you've developed over lifetimes of experience. But for the soul to move forward, these lunar patterns often need to be refined, transformed, or transcended. Working with your moon sign consciously is one of the most powerful tools for spiritual growth. This is where esoteric astrology becomes deeply practical. It's not about predicting external events, though understanding planetary cycles can certainly help you navigate timing. It's about understanding the inner dynamics of your consciousness and how to work with them skillfully. The planets themselves take on new meaning when we understand them as sacred and non-sacred. Most people don't realize that planets, like humans, are evolving beings. Some planets have achieved what we might call cosmic enlightenment, where their soul nature has taken dominion over their personality. These are the sacred planets: Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury, Venus, Neptune, and Uranus, plus the hidden planet, Vulcan. The non-sacred planets are those still working on integrating their personality with their soul purpose. These include Mars, Pluto, the Moon, and our own Earth. The veiled planets that the Sun and Moon represent also fall into this category. When these planets feature prominently in your chart, they often point to areas where you're still working on personality integration. Understanding this distinction revolutionizes how we read a birth chart. Sacred planets in your chart point to areas where you have natural spiritual gifts and evolutionary potential. Non-sacred planets highlight where you're still doing the hard work of transformation, where your personality might resist your soul's deeper calling. But here's what makes this particularly relevant for our times. We're living through an unprecedented convergence of cycles. Not only are we transitioning from Pisces to Aquarius, but we're also witnessing the end of a 6th ray cycle and the beginning of a 7th ray cycle. The 6th ray, which dominated the Piscean age, was all about devotion, idealism, and the search for truth through conflict and struggle. The 7th ray, that's now emerging, is about synthesis, magic, and the ability to bring spirit into matter. This shift from 6th to 7th ray energy explains so much about what we're experiencing collectively. The old 6th ray approach created many of our religious and political institutions, with their emphasis on dogma, hierarchy, and the need for external authority. But 7th ray energy is different. It's about group consciousness, collaborative creation, and the recognition that we all have direct access to divine wisdom. People who are sensitive to these incoming energies often find themselves caught between worlds. They feel called to something greater, but the old structures no longer make sense to them. This can create what feels like a spiritual crisis, but it's actually a sign of evolutionary growth. Your soul is responding to the new frequencies that are flooding our planet. The challenge is that we're living through a transitional period. The old energies haven't completely departed, and the new ones haven't fully established themselves. This creates tension, polarization, and sometimes conflict between different groups of people. Those who are still primarily responding to 6th ray Piscean energy want to maintain traditional structures and hierarchy. Those attuning to 7th ray Aquarian frequencies are drawn toward more egalitarian, collaborative approaches. Neither perspective is wrong, by the way. Evolution is a gradual process, and we need bridges between the old and the new. The wisdom of esoteric astrology helps us understand these different orientations with compassion rather than judgment. We're all doing our best to navigate this unprecedented time of change. This is why understanding your own ray makeup becomes so crucial. When you know which rays are operating through your soul and personality, you can begin to work with them consciously. You can recognize, but here's where it gets really interesting. Your soul ray and personality ray might be different. In fact, they usually are. This creates what we might call divine tension within your psyche. Your personality might be perfectly happy pursuing material success and social recognition, but your soul is calling you toward service, toward contribution, toward something that transcends personal ambition. This tension isn't a problem to be solved. It's a creative force to be harnessed. The friction between your soul and personality rays generates the energy needed for transformation. It is what wakes you up from the comfortable sleep of unconscious living and calls you toward your deeper purpose. Many people experience this as a midlife crisis, though it can happen at any age. Suddenly, the things that used to matter don't seem important anymore. Success feels hollow. Relationships based on personality, compatibility, start to feel superficial. There's a deep longing for meaning, for authenticity, for connection to something greater than yourself. This is actually a sign of spiritual awakening. Your soul is beginning to assert its influence over your personality. It's calling you toward your true work in the world, toward relationships based on soul recognition rather than just personality attraction, toward a way of living that honors both your human needs and your divine potential. The birth chart becomes a map for navigating this transformation. Every planet, every aspect, every configuration tells part of the story of how your soul intends to work through your personality in this lifetime. The challenges shown in your chart aren't punishments or limitations. They're exactly the conditions your soul needs to develop specific qualities and capacities. Saturn aspects, for instance, often point to areas where you're building spiritual strength through discipline and perseverance. Pluto contacts reveal where you're undergoing deep transformation, death, and rebirth at the psychological level. Neptune influences suggest where you're relearning to dissolve the boundaries of the separate self and merge with something greater. Even the so-called difficult aspects become gifts when understood from the soul's perspective. That Mars-Saturn square that makes you feel constantly frustrated with obstacles. It might be exactly what your soul needs to develop patience, strategic thinking, and the ability to persist in the face of opposition. That Venus-Pluto conjunction that brings intensity and sometimes obsession to your relationships. It could be your soul's way of learning about the transformative power of love. This reframe from victim to co-creator is one of the most empowering aspects of esoteric astrology. You're not at the mercy of your birth chart. You're in partnership with it. Your soul chose this particular configuration of energies because it provides exactly the right conditions for your next phase of growth. But choice and free will remain paramount. Having a Mars in Scorpio doesn't doom you to a life of conflict and power struggles. It means you have potent resources for transformation available to you, and the choice of how to use them. You can express that Mars-Scorpio energy through destructive patterns of manipulation and revenge, or you can channel it into healing work, psychological insight, and the courage to face the shadow aspects of human nature. This brings us to one of the most profound teachings of esoteric astrology, the concept of initiation. From the soul's perspective, life is a series of initiations, tests that allow you to demonstrate your readiness for greater responsibility and higher service. These aren't ritual ceremonies performed in temples, though such rituals might acknowledge initiations that have already taken place in consciousness. Real initiation happens in the laboratory of daily life. It's the moment when you choose love over fear, service over self-interest, truth over comfortable illusion. It's when you successfully integrate a new level of consciousness and demonstrate your ability to handle greater spiritual energy. Each sign of the zodiac corresponds to particular initiatory themes. Scorpio, for instance, is associated with the initiation of the emotional body, where the desires and attachments of the lower self are transformed into the selfless love of the soul. This is often experienced as a death and rebirth process, where old patterns of emotional reactivity must die for new capacities of love, but this transition isn't automatic. It requires conscious participation from those who are ready. It requires people who understand their own ray makeup and soul purpose to step forward and begin embodying the new consciousness. It requires individuals who are willing to sacrifice personal comfort for collective evil. The planetary configurations in your birth chart provide clues about how you were meant to participate in this great work. Venus aspects might indicate that you were here to model new forms of relationship based on soul recognition rather than personality attraction. Jupiter placements could suggest that you're meant to be a teacher or wisdom keeper, helping others expand their consciousness. Uranus contacts might mean you're here to break down old structures and introduce innovative approaches. Understanding these signatures helps you align with your deeper purpose rather than struggling against it. Instead of trying to fit into career paths or relationship patterns that do you unmatch your soul as intention, you can begin to create a life that honors who you really are and why you're here. This is practical spirituality at its finest. Esoteric astrology doesn't ask you to retreat from the world or spend your days in meditation caves. It shows you how to be fully engaged with life while maintaining awareness of the deeper currents that are moving through you and through humanity as a whole. The 7 rays provide a particularly useful framework for this integration. Each ray has its own approach to service, its own way of contributing to the planetary healing that's needed. First ray souls might be drawn to leadership roles, to breaking down systems that no longer serve and initiating new approaches. Second ray souls often work as teachers, healers, and counselors, helping individuals understand themselves and develop their potential. Third ray souls excel at the practical work of manifestation, creating the structures and systems needed to support the new consciousness. Fourth ray souls serve as bridges between different groups, using their gift for harmony to resolve conflicts and create beauty. Fifth ray souls contribute through research, education, and the development of new technologies that serve human welfare. Sixth ray souls are the devotees and activists, passionate about causes and willing to fight for what they believe in. Seventh ray souls are the magicians and organizers, able to bring spiritual principles into practical manifestation and create order from chaos. Understanding your primary ray influence helps you find your niche in this great work of planetary transformation. You don't have to do everything. You just have to do your part with consciousness and dedication. But remember, we're not just individual souls working in isolation. We're part of groups, both inner and outer, that are focused on specific aspects of the planetary healing. Your birth chart might contain clues about which group you're affiliated with at the soul level. Certain planetary patterns repeat among souls who work together across lifetimes. This group consciousness is already emerging among sensitive people around the world. They're finding each other through synchronicity and soul recognition, drawn together by common purpose, rather than just personal compatibility. These soul groups are beginning to collaborate on projects that serve the greater good, whether in healing, education, the arts, or social transformation. The internet has greatly accelerated this process of group formation. People who might never have met in physical space are now able to connect across continents and work together in service of shared ideals. This is no accident. The development of global communication technologies is part of the preparation for the Aquarian Age, when humanity will function as a unified organism. But technology alone isn't enough. We need the wisdom to use these tools consciously, in alignment with spiritual principles rather than just personal gain. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!